Hello, sir. Good morning, sir. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think my headphones don't seem to be working.
Honorable Professor Kiran Kalia, Director NIPER-Ahmedabad, eminent chief guest and speaker, Dr. Ketan R. Patel, CMD, Troika Pharmaceuticals Limited, colleagues and dear participants. A very warm welcome and good morning to all of you. Friends, today we are witnessing one of the worst pandemic of the century. During this difficult time, pharmacists have once again emerged as the backbone of healthcare profession in different settings. Friends, pharmacists are responsible for varying roles in the country. For instance, they are today actively providing quality medicines to the patients. They are trying to make sure that medicines that are being supplied to the patients are within the law. They are trying to ensure that the medicines that are provided to the patients are suitable, as well as they are responsible, as well as actively handling the responsibility of advising the patients about the medicines. For example, how to take the medicines, what reactions may occur, as well as giving answers to the patient's general questions. Friends, it's 25 September 2020 today, and the whole world is celebrating the World Pharmacist Day. I apprise that the World Pharmacist Day was created by the International Pharmaceutical Federation Council at the World Pharmacy Congress and Pharmaceutical Sciences in 2009 in Istanbul, Turkey. This day is celebrated primarily to make understand the crucial roles that a pharmacist play in improving the healthcare all over the world. On behalf of NIPER-Ahmedabad and the organizing committee, I, Dr. Rakesh Tekade, once again, wholeheartedly thank you for being here, and I welcome you all for this national webinar that entitled Essential Traits of Entrepreneurship, which NIPER-Ahmedabad has organized to commemorate World Pharmacist Day. Friends, young minds are country's future, as we all largely echo and agree. And it is advocated that a chunk of workforce from any country must have a mindset of running his or her own business. As a report which has been recently published by MIT Medical School, as well as in collaboration with the business school, it was echoed that ideally a country needs 2% of its population as entrepreneur. It is also largely agreed that the concept of entrepreneurship is focal for creating employment in a country, increasing the production capability, as well as raising the standard of living of its people. In this meadow, today's talk will cross-talk as well as elaborate the ways that lead us to a successful young entrepreneur. With this abstract of today's lecture, I once again thank you and request you to please give a big round of applause for our today's chief guest, Ketan Patel. Before we start for today's program, I would like to respectfully request all of you to please stand up and join us for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you very much. Thank you. Friends, Professor Kiran Kalia is a synonym of encouragement, motivation, imagination, as well as vision at NIPER-Ahmedabad. It is because of her hardship and dedication that today NIPER-Ahmedabad is witnessing leap steps in generating cutting-edge scientists, academicians, as well as notable entrepreneurships from the NIPER-Ahmedabad. It is her vision and dream that had came true recently in the form of Bioincubator Center facility at NIPER-Ahmedabad. I request all of you to please give huge round of applause for Professor Kiran Kalia. Thank you. With this, I request and invite Professor Kiran Kalia, Director NIPER-Ahmedabad, to please inaugurate the session.
Good morning, friends. Our dear respected Ketan Bhai, CMD Troika Pharma, as well as Chairman BOG NIPER-Ahmedabad, dear participants and my student friends. It gives me a giant pleasure to welcome you all to this national webinar organized by us to commemorate World Pharmacist Day 2020. First of all, I congratulate the pharmacy fraternity for being such a trusted source of knowledge and advice for both patients as well as for healthcare professionals. The theme of World Pharmacist Day 2020 is transforming global health. It focuses on the safety of patients by improving the use of medicines related to medicine. Therefore, in a nutshell, it must say that the role of pharmacist is very, very important. Today, more than ever, the pharmacists are empowered with the responsibility to ensure that when a patient uses a medicine, it will not cause any harm to them. Friends, I recall the initial period of COVID-19 lockdown when everyone was reluctant to go out. During this tough time, it is the pharmacist who is one of the workforces who made it sure that the public get required medicine and other healthcare items. Today, the pharmacists are increasingly taking on the new responsibilities and establishing the new roles as we ensure patients benefit from evidence-based clinical expertise. Today, the community access to a pharmacist is a very common, but not many people are aware of the important role that a pharmacist performs. And this year's theme, as mentioned in the flyer, is a chance to exactly highlight the same. Pharmacists involved in research contribute significantly to the health policy and services while focusing on topics such as advancement in drug delivery systems, drug delivery or clinical services. I echo that all pharmacists deserve strong recognition for their vital healthcare role and the services. So I wish every pharmacist a very, very happy Pharmacist Day. And I wish every pharmacist success in their goal and success in helping or improving the health of the community they serve. NIPER-A proudly shared the initiative concept of NIPER-A Cares. With this platform, the NIPER-A Cares, NIPER-A is committed to volunteer social services and healthcare assistance to the old age homes, orphanages, as well as the surrounding torn rural areas. I confirm that NIPER-A, in partnership with the pharmacist students and the faculty team, will continue to work for the society during as well as the post-ongoing pandemic period. Friends, as a national institute, NIPER-Ahmedabad is committed to knowledge building, nurturing science, as well as to motivate entrepreneurship building to contribute the national building. And to this ground, today's workshop entitled Essential Traits of Entrepreneurship, to just focusing on the heart of the proficiency, to talk on the same and to share the views. Today we have among us a well-known expert in this field, Dr. Ketan R. Patel, who is also one of our deep-rooted partner. On behalf of organizing committee, I once again welcome all of you for this webinar, and I would request all of you to welcome our chief guest and the speaker of today, Dr. Ketan Patel. He is a true entrepreneur. I would not introduce him much here. I would like that you should listen the journey, how Dr. Ketan Patel has started his journey as a pharmacology student and helped the country through his innovative mind and innovative ideas, and how he has reached to this stage being a successful industrialist in the pharma industry. And this journey is really inspiring for all. I am very much inspired, and I believe that all my students and the participants will also be inspired to take a lead role as a pharmacology student or as a pharmacist to help and support the country through your innovative ideas and innovative minds. With this, I would request all of you to welcome Dr. Ketan Patel with a big hand of applause.
Thank you, Kiranji.
Thank you, sir. Now over to you, sir. And I would be happy if you share your journey, how you have started, as a student to a big industrialist today. Thank you, sir.
So are you, shall I play, give the detailed talk, or you're going to play the video which is there on YouTube? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Sir, we would be happy if you share or talk to our students before we start playing your video.
Yeah. So then what I'll do is I'll give all of you an overview of my talk.
Sure.
So that, all of them get an idea of what they're going to hear out.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, Kiranji, the faculty of NIPER-Ahmedabad, and my dear students. In the introduction, it has been said that entrepreneurship is very important for any country, the progress of any country. And India has the largest youth population in the world. So if we could generate and churn out more entrepreneurs, definitely the economy of the country would benefit, and as a result, the nation would benefit. You keep hearing of successful startups in the West, and also quite a few now in India who have an idea and then they had the wherewithal to undergo the journey of entrepreneurship and set up meaningful enterprises. So my talk is essentially focusing on a few traits which are essential requisites for someone to become a good entrepreneur. At the same time, let me tell you that whatever I tell you about entrepreneurship also applies to intrapreneurship. Intrapreneurship is something which is required of people working in companies as employees. So if you're a team leader in working in any company, or you aspire to not to go for your own business, but you want to go for a good position in some good reputed company, then you're going to lead a team gradually as you become successful. You will get promotions and you will lead increasingly large teams. So when you want to guide, motivate, and lead teams, you need entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship, believe me, is no different from entrepreneurship. Most of the traits are the same. So my talk will benefit and give ideas as well as understanding both to aspiring entrepreneurs as well as entrepreneurs. Essentially, I'll give you an overview of the 5 traits which I have discussed in the video. Of course, there are a few more, but since these 5 traits have taken almost 1 hour and 32 minutes, and they are the prime requisite traits, I think they will give you quite a comprehensive idea of what entrepreneurship is all about. The first trait obviously is risk taking. I have explained therein the exact meaning of risk taking, but in one sentence, if I have to say, entrepreneurship is like taking a plunge, knowing full well that you could sink, but at the same time, making an effort not to sink, but to win. Swim fast and win. So risk-taking ability is something which is ingrained, and only those who have that emotional fortitude to take risks should venture into entrepreneurship, because risk-taking in entrepreneurship doesn't stop. Throughout the journey, you keep taking one risk or the other. And if that risk pumps adrenaline in your system rather than acetylcholine, then you are fit to be an entrepreneur. If you get scared and if you have a tendency to buckle down, don't go for entrepreneurship, opt for intrapreneurship. So this is the first clarity. This is the risk-taking ability, the trait decides whether you want to be an entrepreneur or you want to be an intrapreneur. Okay. The next one is proactivity. As I have explained therein, very, very frequently misunderstood as extra activity or being active all the time. That's not the right definition. Proactivity means being able to perform to your optimum capabilities, even in the face of adversity, which means that you'll be able to control your responses during an adversity. During an adversity, the first response is acetylcholine. You tend to go down. You feel like giving up. But if you are a proactive individual and if you understand what is proactivity, then you will be able to practice it gradually. Proactivity emanates in your behavior, and more importantly, it will emanate in your language. The language you speak shows whether you are proactive or not. So if you become aware of the language which you speak, then you know that, yes, I am proactive, or I need to be proactive because I am reactive. The opposite of proactive is reactive. In general, if I say the language of a proactive guy is a language of responsibility, and the language of a reactive guy is a language of shifting responsibility to someone else or to some circumstances. I would have wanted to do this, but this problem prevented me from doing so. But a proactive guy will say that there were so many problems and I can see the problems, but I know that I can do it. At least let me try. And if I can't, then I'll search for something else, and then something else, and then something else, but I'll never give up. So proactivity basically will instill in you all, one is optimism. seeing the glass half full, not half empty. Reactivity will make you pessimist, seeing the glass half empty. And that leads to an attitude which I would say is never say die. No matter what happens, you believe that my company will not go down. I will not go down. I'll not allow the company to go down. I'll find options. I'll find alternatives, but I'll make sure that my company is there and it keeps growing. More in details in proactivity with my own experiences I have shared. The whole audio or video rather is giving these concepts supported by my own experiences and experiences which I have undergone in the first 10 years of setting up Troika. Today, I face different kind of challenges. And if I share those challenges, young entrepreneurs won't be able to relate to those. Because today, Troika is more than 650 crores, touching 700 crores, in fact. And we have a team of seniors and whatnot. So the challenges are different and the way we manage them are different. Of course, the risk taking continues, but a lot of things change when you grow in size. And I witnessed that. Things which I used to personally battle during the first 10 years, today there are people to take care of it. So I don't want to share any episodes from my experience which have taken place after the first 10 years. So we set it up in 84, 85, and I have given experiences up to 1995, I think. And that makes it easier for you to understand that what is possible. How is it possible to take a risk? How is it possible to, what is proactivity and the benefits of proactivity? Same thing, the third is about passion. If you don't have passion, the outcomes are always diluted. Passion is a great force. And as I've explained, it is a contagious force. There is a concept in psychology called emotional contagion. And I've explained in very brief there with an example of how emotional contagion works. Essentially, as I said, as an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, you're going to lead. And if you want to be a leader, you need to do two things. One is to influence the team below you, who's working for you and who's going to deliver the results for you as a teamwork. And the second part is to influence people above you or outside the organization. And this can only happen with the force of passion. Of course, backed by knowledge and everything, but the force of passion communicates and infects others. And that is why successful leaders have this inherent ability to use passion as a force. Our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, people hate him, people love him. But if you just look at it objectively, which is the way any good Indian citizen should look at any leader, why Narendra Modi, even Rahul Gandhi, what are they doing? And if they are doing something good, then you rate them well. You may not like their philosophy, maybe you think they are intolerant, but as long as there are reforms in the country, as long as he's communicating those reforms to you, making you realize that this is what he has done, he's going to be a great leader. And that is why he's winning the elections. If you hear out his speeches, you will see that he comes up with points which hit home. And they are said with so much of conviction and passion and very well modulated, as well as the content is very well worked about to influence the listener. And that is the reason why he has become such a huge global leader. This is the first time in the history of India that you have a leader who's respected across the globe. Superpowers like America and Japan, everybody respects him, and he's able to that is his passion infecting his colleagues. I mean, he needs to infect passion so that even Saudi Arabia gives him an award. How does he do that? He's demonstrating leadership even in the group of leaders of the world. So passion is infectious, and These days you have everything which I talk about, things are there on the internet as well. But essentially passion comes from commitment and conviction. If you are 50-50 about everything, you can't be passionate. You have to take a stand. And that's what Narendra Modi is doing. He has taken a stand. And that stand is that he will work for the 120 crore Indians. Now, he doesn't want to appease any particular sect of the population. That's a stand which the Congress could never take. So that comes because of a conviction, of a belief, of a passion. The third is hard work. Nothing to elaborate. All of you at NIPER have reached where you have because you've been hardworking. There's nothing to do with luck in this. In fact, I have said it in the video that the harder you work, the luckier you get. In our journey of 35 years now, I have hardly experienced the power of luck lifting you suddenly. And when luck hits you, you know that kuch kiya nahi, fir bhi itna ho gaya sab. And there is luck. I'm not denying that there is luck, but everybody is not blessed with luck. So I would rather that you work so hard that the lady luck has to smile at you. And that is deeply satisfying then. The next is problem solving, which I have discussed at length with a very nice episode. Ability to solve problem boosts the morale. Your own morale, you feel good that you solved it, and that of your team. So as I said, for entrepreneurs as well as entrepreneurs, problem solving becomes an essential trait of an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur has to be a leader, a good leader, and he has to demonstrate the never say die attitude. When you solve a problem, you are saying that, okay, there was a challenge, it could have blocked me, but we broke through. And something which I have not possibly mentioned in detail there, or I don't remember because it was a long talk and I gave it about a month ago, 2 months ago, in fact. But reading is something very important. See, when we started the company, I just had done my master's in pharmacy. And those days, there were no interdisciplinary courses. For example, now NIPER-Ahmedabad is going to introduce an MBA. So that will give all of you an opportunity to acquire additional skills which are required for entrepreneurship. What is marketing? What is finance? What is human resource development? All these need to be understood if you want to be a good entrepreneur. So what I did that time in those days was that, because first thing is that one has to feel inadequate. If you are in an overconfident mode, optimism doesn't mean overconfidence. Overconfidence means that I know it all. That never works. Always be a little bit less confident. I always say that. Less confident till the time you acquire the domain knowledge. Once you have the domain knowledge, then you don't lack the conviction on that particular aspect. Then you are convinced that I know and I'm going to do it. But where do you get that conviction? You get it from reading, from understanding. So there are very good books on each of the domains which I have mentioned. And many American authors, most of them these days, actually write books with case studies. So they actually become a very interesting read. You are given a concept and then that is explained with a couple of case studies. So you really understand that particular aspect. So for me, the books were my gurus actually. And they are, each author who writes a book, a good author, is a guru because he's sharing that knowledge with you. His entire knowledge and understanding of a particular subject is being shared in those 200 or 300 or 150 pages. These days, the books pack so much power into less number of pages. So if you see a tome of 400 pages, there is an inertia in starting. But these days I've seen most of the books, in fact, even those days when I read, the books which I read were all within 200 pages, but packed with logic and packed with information and packed with wisdom. So identify the books. I have mentioned a few of them, but it is the books which gave me the courage to become an entrepreneur, and not a courage to become an entrepreneur. I took a plunge, taking a risk. And at that point, as I said, in entrepreneurship, there's no guarantee. Things change in the business scenario. And by the time the company started, things had changed so much that it was like the sheer existence of the company had been threatened at one point of time. But then the books came in handy, and the never say die attitude, of course, was there. And we initially, from 7 or 8 employees, today we have more than 2,500 employees. So that's the kind of growth you can get with these trades. And it is possible because when I started, you can just imagine yourself there. Those days, we started with about 5 lakh rupees. Now imagine in an industry, those days there were companies, all these companies were there. All the big companies of Ahmedabad and then Alembic and Sun and Renbaxy, all of them were there. How would you feel? You feel highly inadequate. That what impact am I going to make with this 5 lakh rupees? But then if you have the will and the conviction and the ability to do hard work, be proactive, be passionate about what you're doing, you will find solutions. The books will also teach you what to do, what not to do. I think that gives quite a comprehensive overview of what has been spoken by me. And I wish all of you all the very best, whether you be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur. Excel at what you do. So understand these concepts. Today, Indian entrepreneurs are equally important in pharma sector, especially because India has become the pharmacy to the world. And COVID has actually accentuated the prowess of India. There are so many products which you don't read in the newspapers, which are regularly used when the patients have a severe COVID infection. So apart from these remdesivir and tocilizumab, there are quite a few products, including cardiac products like dobutamine or anesthetic agents like propofol, midazolam. All these products are used in severe COVID infection. And India has been a constant supplier of this additional demand, and has actually kept the health ministries of the world happy that they could get these products at short notice. And these are specialized products. So India has now become like an epicenter for pharma. Of course, innovation still is our weak link, and that is why these NIPERs have been set up. We want you all to think out of the box, identify the gaps, and come out with products which have a value in the society. You may not come out with a product which has got $100 million or a $200 million market, but if a product has a value worth even $1 million in the market, for a startup, it's worth doing. It's worth developing it. It's worth making it available to society. You're not just doing business to make profits. Beyond a point, profits become quite irrelevant. So India becoming the hub of pharma and now getting tremendous recognition, we also want that our production lines are, or our entire production quality control and quality assurance, they touch excellence. That can only happen when the professional entrepreneurs manning each function are passionate about what they do, and they are constantly aware that they are working for India. If they make a lapse and the product has a problem in any country, it hits the reputation of our country. And this is what is the kind of the most important achievement that we could have in the coming years. With the products getting more and more into different markets, if the quality is not questioned, then India will occupy greater space and we will really start dominating. Even today, although we have so much of supply and so much of production, we are still not dominating. Quite all of you must be reading often that product failures are blemishes on our reputation. And they occur because I have seen in my own company that professionals sometimes make absurd mistakes. And absurd mistakes can only happen when you're not focused, when you're not passionate, when you don't have self-esteem. When you put a signature on anything, you should have the self-esteem that once I have signed something, 99.99 Six Sigma, there won't be a mistake, there won't be a lapse. But that is where we still need to grow. We still need to be sensitive. As I said, we still need to be underconfident that we are good. Only then we can touch excellence. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy hearing the video. Kiranji? Shall I leave? I need to leave. I have another meeting. So I think you can complete the video.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we will share the video, what we have shared it. I really enjoyed that video and I wanted to share this video with all my students and faculty on this occasion. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So basically, I am a techno entrepreneur. I have completed my PhD in pharmaceutical technology. I did my master's in medicinal chemistry. And when I narrate this today, I'm going to refer back and fall back to all the episodes that happened between 1984 and 1990, which is the time when Troika was just a baby. We started with a meager capital of around 5 lakh rupees, gathered from here and there. And we had about 7-8 employees. So the reason I do not wish to bring today's episodes, because entrepreneurship continues no matter what stage of or what size of your organization. So today, while we have crossed 650 crores and we have 2,500 employees, I would not like to give any example of entrepreneurship from today's examples, because I want all of you to relate to what is achievable even when you start with a very small base. So to start with, the essence of entrepreneurship surely is risk-taking ability. Several facets to this, but I'll essentially dwell upon two. The first one being seizing the opportunity as and when it comes. And second is because I believe has a lot of innovation entrepreneurs. The second is the inherent risk in innovation, which I want you all to perceive. Let's talk about the risk-taking ability. When I completed my education and joined, my father had a partnership firm actually, and we had a partner, and it was a pharmaceutical company, sizable enough. And when I joined, I realized that although the volumes were there, the bottom lines were very, very bad, and the business model was absolutely repugnant to my value system. There was not an iota of innovation. It was all generics. And I thought that this kind of a business setup would not take us further. And partnership firm has, as you all know, unlimited liability. If it fails, then it takes away all your assets. It's not like a limited liability company. So around 1984, we just walked out of the partnership. And since the firm had incurred losses, there was hardly anything that we got by way of our share. Our capital had been eroded. But there was an opportunity which led me to take this very severe decision. You are in a settled business of your father and you feel comfortable, you have all the luxuries. But then if you look at the future and you find that the future is going to be bleak, probably bleak, on whatever vision I had then. We'll talk about vision later on. I just walked out because at that point of time, there was some hope for tech entrepreneurs. That was a time when the government of Gujarat had declared special incentives for tech entrepreneurs. Way back then, 84, 86. In between, that theme disappeared. Today it is back. Today all of you are being supported in so many ways by the government. So it was not as good as today. There was no one to fund you. There was an organization called Gujarat State Finance Corporation which funded us. But the money was released after a lot of hassle and tremendous amount of, it was almost like begging. We had to stand in queues to get the disbursement of the checks from the sanctioned loan. But nonetheless, I thought that this was an opportunity to break out of the old company, which possibly had no future. And later it did go bankrupt after we left. And we borrowed from GSFC. Being a tech entrepreneur, the government was liberal in terms of the fact that you didn't need collateral security. So your educational qualification and the degree issued by the university was your collateral. And the rest was up to your value system that you would pay back. Interest rate was a bit subsidized. Those days, that was a time when the interest rates prevailing on the market were 18 and 21%. But we were given funding at about 14%. And then once I had taken the plunge, I had to make it viable. So when you seize an opportunity, you have to find a way to make it viable. Now, when there's a cash crunch at the early stage of any enterprise. So I had that much of kind of understanding that I should not spend too much on the land and the building, spend a bit more rather on machineries, buying good machineries. So what we did was kind of an innovation actually. There were areas declared by Gujarat government which were notified backward areas where you would get a subsidy on your investment and you would also get a sales tax exemption. So we found one such area just adjacent to Ahmedabad. So it was as if it was the distant edge of Ahmedabad. And that was a village called Thol. Thol today is known as a bird sanctuary. But in 1984, it was not easy to access Thol because the last 7-8 kilometers of the road were completely kind of the village road, dirt and metal. So nobody visited those sites. The properties were damn cheap. And then there was this cotton ginning mill, which had gone, the owners had gone bankrupt. And then upon inquiring, we came to know that there were 2 preceding owners who had also gone bankrupt. So there was a kind of a stigma on the property that it's a property with a bad omen. So that was a kind of an opportunity for us because then we knew that the price would be throwaway. And it would make our dream viable because it had 15,000 square meters of land and 3 sizable buildings which could be modified and which could be, to which some extensions could be made and possibly converted into a pharmaceutical company. So I had an architect friend and I took him to that dilapidated structure. It was called Mahavir Ginning Mills. And he saw the whole building and he made the plans. And then within 10 days, we had some idea of what could be done to comply with the norms of the Drugs and Cosmetic Act as per the 1984 status. and I could see that it was pretty viable. So as a precaution, I went to one of the officers in the drug control department who was my classmate. And I showed him plans and asked him whether this would be approvable by his department. So he went through, he suggested a couple of changes, but then he said that you could go ahead. After that, having done this homework, we started negotiating. And we knew that the owners were not finding buyers because of the bad omen. And in my family, nobody believes in omens, etc. We just believe in rock solid work, hard work. So we had no qualms about buying that property, even if 3 times over it had gone bankrupt. So we could drive home a deal actually of rupees 1,21,000 for the whole 15,000 square meters plus the 3 buildings. And with possibly about another 5-6 lakh rupees or maybe 10 lakhs of civil work, we could modify, make the necessary extensions, give finishing touches to the old building and polish them up again, and then invest an additional 10-12 lakhs from GSFC. And that was it. Troika was born, and it was the beginning of the dream. Of course, I didn't know what kind of challenges would come up. But during the course of this session, you will come to know how we face the challenges. So now just imagine if I had not seized that opportunity of getting out of a company which was not expected to do well according to me, because they were selling the wrong kind of products. And that was because of my partner's vision. He just believed that that was the thing to do. So if he had stayed there, later on that company went bankrupt. So my family would have lost everything out. And I possibly would have been working in some company in the US, because pharmacists were a hot rage those days in the US. It's like today's IT professionals, those days we were the guys who were in demand. But I seized that opportunity. I took a huge decision to move out. Although we knew that we were not going to get anything from the company towards the partnership share that we were relinquishing. But that is how, when you look at a business, you have to examine it. And if you are a tech entrepreneur, you do know, no matter what age you are, you do know, or you ought to know, whether there's a future in it or not, in any endeavor. While at the time of starting up or at the time of diversification, you need to find out whether this is going to be worthwhile. And so remember that this is how opportunities can be seized. There are n number of opportunities subsequently where we took the risk, seized the opportunity, and 80% of the times I think we really did well. 20% of the time the risks were bad and we lost a bit of money. But then entrepreneurship is about earning as well as losing. As long as your earning exceeds the losing, there's no problem. The second is innovations. Now, innovation actually is a very exciting word, and it suggests power over the Me Too products. But innovation also involves transferring your concept, whatever you think is the best, onto the minds of the customers so that the customers are fascinated with your idea. It's only after they get excited with the idea, when they perceive value in your idea, that the innovation becomes a success. Till such time, your innovation possibly may be the best in the world, or at least a very good advance over what a customer is using. But it is for the customer to perceive that. So that is why there is an inherent risk. Even I didn't realize this. When I started when I brought my first innovation, which we will come to later on, I never perceived that there could be a difficulty in marketing it. And the odds are even higher for smaller companies, because we don't, at that point of time, what was Troika? It was a small company. So if I innovated, it was going to be like, the first question to be asked is, am I competent to do it? Is this company competent to do it? So let me give you an example of DynaPar AQ. DynaPar AQ is our brand name. It's a injection to treat post-operative pain or pain caused by kidney stones or trauma, injury. So any kind of acute pain, NIPER-AQ is used to combat the pain. It is very effective and it renders the pain, gives tremendous pain relief to patients. Now, at one point of time, after we had started the company and passed through the stages of generics and then some differentiated products, some niche products, some reverse engineered injections and all, by a quirk of destiny, I was kind of made to look at diclofenac injections. That is a generic name. Now, diclofenac injections, the brand leader at that point, around, I'm talking of the late 90s. Between 84 and 86 and late 90s, we had done a lot of other things, which I said, like generics, etc. I'll cover it up in some other segment of this talk. But I came to know from a doctor that the diclofenac injections, which were originally invented by Novartis, they were causing a lot of pain. So it was ironical. A painkiller was causing pain at the site of injection. The pain was so intense and it used to last for 3 to 4 hours. So the injection could not be taken in the arm muscle at all. It had to be taken in the buttocks, which was inconvenient for the outpatient treatment by, say, general practitioners, etc. And it was also inconvenient for the patient. He had to undress if he had to take an injection. And the pain was caused not by the diclofenac drug, it was caused by the formulation. The formula comprises adjuvants, additives, and that cocktail was causing the pain, sometimes even abscess, which means pus formation and damage to the tissue, therefore. So when I came to know about this, I got fascinated, and I also got quite surprised, taken by surprise, that I didn't know that a painkiller injection is causing pain. So there was a massive opportunity. Novartis enjoyed 80% market share. Those days, possibly the market of diclofenac injection was somewhere around possibly 100 crores or something. And Novartis had 75-80% stranglehold on the market. The rest of the companies, there were 45 other brands from companies like Troika and you name it, all of them in that 20% segment. So we were not really getting much of a business. So when this doctor told me, that was the kind of opening for innovation. And I started working on it. And I started examining why is Wobrang causing pain. We are blindly copied. See, what happens in India is that at a point in history, I think around the late 70s, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi said that there will be no enforcement of product patents for any product related to healthcare. So if there was a US patent or a European patent disclosing a product which was very successful on the market, we could straight away read the patent and optimize the formula and market the product. And the multinational could not sue us. So we were actually addicted to reverse engineering, which we are even today. That we do a very efficient reverse engineering, and that is why our products are so economically priced, and that is why the world wants India's pharmaceuticals, because we've learned that art of optimizing the processes and coming out with good quality at optimum pricing. So, but here was a product where even I had reverse engineered, and then I come to know that it's causing pain. So it was an opportunity to apply my knowledge. See, knowledge is very important. All of you here, most of you, I think, are tech entrepreneurs. So you have an idea and you have studied in a particular domain. Therefore, you have the knowledge. So when you start applying the knowledge, you start finding out things. So I found out why Wobrang was causing pain. And we experimented for almost a year and a half. And finally, in concept, theoretically, we had a solution of diclofenac injection, which should not cause pain. So then we established that through clinical trials. It was a long journey, actually, because in a pharmaceutical product, it is not like that you develop an equipment or a part or a device, and then you straight away can be on the market, like you can be in, say, engineering or plastics or any other domain or software. In pharmaceuticals, because it's going to go into the human body, you have to prove its safety as well as efficacy in humans. First in animals, then in humans. Now, I'm talking of the year around 2001, 2002. At that point of time, the knowledge of how to conduct clinical trials itself was very, very scarce because no company was conducting those studies. If you are copying old products, you don't need to prove the safety because the safety has already been proven in the Western countries. So we embarked on the journey. There were people who knew about how to go for animal studies, and then some of the doctors taught us how to do the clinical trials. And at the end of a journey of around 4 years, we got the product approved. So DynaPAR-AQ, what were the USPs? It could be given in the arm muscle, first of all. So convenience was absolutely assured. The solution itself did not cause any pain at site of injection. The pain was just of the prick of the needle. So thereafter, the patient would not feel any pain. And the third and the most important advantage was the injection could be given directly into the vein, what is called as intravenous bolus. Now, when you give directly into the vein, the injection always will produce a very strong analgesic anti-inflammatory action. So the pain relief is rapid as well as very strong. Now, this direct IV bolus administration, Wolveron injection is not approved for that route at all. Wolveron injection is not approved for the arm muscle drug delivery. It has to be given only on the buttock. So you can imagine this product, I mean, what are the questions? How can a doctor ask any question? It is so distinctly superior over Wolveron that I at least personally thought that within 6 months it will become the #1 brand. But you should know how the minds of a customer work, because first they assess the company, the size of the company, and then they give weightage to the innovation. So the questions that started coming up as objections were really amazing. One of the most prolifically asked question was, आपका इंजेक्शन पेन नहीं कॉज करता है, तो यार हमारे पेशेंट को कैसे लगेगा कि सुई दी है, यहाँ तो भारी भारी सुई चाहिए. So actually a product causing pain was kind of a good thing for the doctor, because the patient felt कि अगर 10 रुपया या 20 रुपया दिया है डॉक्टर को, तो ऐसा भारी इंजेक्शन देना चाहिए कि अभी पता चले कि इंजेक्शन लिया हुआ है. That was one. And another one which was equally prolific was, how have you done it? आपने कैसे, हम कैसे मान ले कि आपने किया हुआ है. Novartis कंपनी इतनी बड़ी है, उन्होंने ये अगर नहीं सोचा तो आप कैसे सोचोगे? See, this is the price we pay for being in a country which is not at all prolific with innovations. So the customers are also, they have kind of crystallized a belief in their minds that innovation has to come from the West. Reverse engineering has to come from India. Now, thankfully, other than the pharma sector, a lot of young entrepreneurs are breaking this myth and kind of registering the presence of India as an innovator. And as a result, more and more Indians are quite happy to go for Indian products. But in those times, it was a challenge to convince the doctors that bhai hamara genuine hai innovation. And we had one clinical trial to show, but then, you know, वो बोलेंगे KEM hospital में किया है, अरे हम जानते हैं KEM में कितनी गड़बड़ चलती है. Now, KEM is one of the leading institutions for medical education in the country. Even today it is. But doctors को तो किसी को बोलना, Indians tend to criticize other Indians very easily. That's what we see on the television these days. हर चीज का प्रूफ मांगेंगे, हर चीज में डाउट करेंगे, और वही चीज अगर वेस्ट से आ गई तो बोलेंगे यार ये तो बहुत फर्स्ट क्लास है. So these were two challenges, and we overcame them simply by conducting more clinical trials. Total 6 additional clinical trials we conducted. So it took us around 5, 6, 7 years. The sales was steadily growing. There were believers as well. It's not that all of them were not believing. But the bigger the doctor, the more were the concerns and the more was the skepticism to trust an Indian company. But by 2010, 11, I think, with all the clinical trials, one after the other, conducted at different leading hospitals, concluding the sheer superiority of NIPER-AQ, we turned the tables. We became the number one brand. And after that, we started gaining market share. Today, we have 70% market share. And the best part is that we even got Voveran injection banned. The reason was that Voveran injection, they lost so much market share that they actually then got into a partnership with another Indian company. They tweaked our patented formula. And they also marketed a similar version to ours. So it was like as if an MNC was copying our technology and concept, something which an MNC would never do. It is something repugnant to the ethos of a MNC to copy someone, and that to an Indian company. But they did it because it was a big product, and by then the market had grown to 250 crores. So their dominance would ensure them tremendous revenues. So they copied it, they tweaked it, and then we sued them and we got it banned. And so now we enjoy the largest market share. Now this is the kind of risk I'm talking about. Initially, it took us so much time that it was like it could have rattled us, and it did rattle us. Let me be honest, it's not that we were not rattled, but then entrepreneurship is about what I'm coming to next, about proactivity. Proactivity word is used very, very often. Many people think proactive means being more active. No, that is not proactive. That maybe being more active is hard work. But, hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
You are able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
I think in between you'll have to tell me because I feel as if I'm talking to a blank screen.
Yes, sir.
So that brings me to proactivity. How did we continue in spite of so much delay in achieving success? A success which you thought would be there with you in 2 years comes to you after 8 years. So proactivity is not about being more active. It is about being able to control your responses. When you market NIPER-AQ and you expect it to be a blockbuster in 2 years' time, and that doesn't happen, how does it affect your mindset? How does it affect your emotions? If it affects you in a very negative manner, then you're going to be down and out. And then possibly you want to give up, just forget about it. It was a big mistake. These doctors don't deserve anything. And that would be the end of it. But if you choose to control your response and say that, no, let me do something which can overcome all these challenges that I'm facing. But that is proactivity. It is basically being responsible for your choice. I chose to innovate. I chose to become an entrepreneur. Then I have to be responsible for my choices. I can't abandon them just because some stimulus from the market is negative. The doctors are not reacting positively. They're not helping us out. They're criticizing the product. They're doubting us. So when you get a negative stimulus and entrepreneurship, please be prepared for a plethora of negative stimuli. Indian environment is not very conducive. Let me tell you that very frankly. I'm not discouraging you, but if you're prepared, then you will face it. And the episodes I narrate will make you realize that in spite of that, you can prevail. So if you can control your responses, then you are a proactive individual. And that is where the word responsibility comes from, ability to control your response, which means responsibility to honor the choices which you made. Don't pass the buck. And I'll give you a classic example of the power that proactivity unleashes in you. See, two things it does actually. It gives a kind of positivity and also keeps you in a perseverant frame of mind. छोड़ेंगे नहीं. Negativity आया तो perseverance का सवाल ही नहीं. And the second thing it does is resilience. If you fall down, you will rise again. If you fall down, you will rise again. Because you are proactive. Because you're controlling your responses. You know something wrong has happened. But then you also know, and it is not that you can not be a bit low. You may be low, but you're not going to be, you will not succumb to that. You will rise back again. So remember these two things. Proactivity means you have to, it will help you to be positive as well as perseverant, and it will give you a resilience to rise back each time. You know what? Think of Mahatma Gandhi. He was the biggest practitioner of proactivity. And he had such a tremendous personality that he could make Indians practice proactivity under the British rule. I'll tell you how. See, I don't know how many of you know about him and his strategies, but one of the things he had preached was in terms of non-violence. He gave an example that if someone slaps you, do not react. So when we were young, even we used to joke, can we react? If you don't react, what? To give him the other cheek. So yes, that's what he said. Non-violence was that if the Britishers attack you, beat you with sticks, even kill you, you are not going to react. So what was he telling Indians? He was telling Indians to control their responses, because he knew the moment we try to react, the Britishers were too powerful and they would have overwhelmed the population. And the next thing would be demoralization, demotivation, negativity, and no perseverance to chase independence. But instead, he chose a roadmap where from the beginning people were told that we have to take slaps. But we will not show that we are hurt. Now, if I get a slap, it is for me to show whether I am injured or not. If I show मुझे कुछ नहीं हुआ, तो अगला सोचेगा ये किस तरह का आदमी है, दूसरा एक स्लैप लगाएगा, वापस सोचेगा. So that was the, I think, proactivity practiced by a whole nation, taught by Mahatma Gandhi. But in terms of entrepreneurship, I have told you, there will be a lot of negative stimuli. Own responsibility for the choices you made. The day you decide to become an entrepreneur, the day you decide to chase an idea, chase a dream, you will have to own it up. So that is, I'd like to give you an example, for example, for perseverance. Today, we are a large company, 2,000 plus employees, etc. But let me tell you what happened between 84 to till we invented one product in 1990, 6 years. Typically, we started with generics. We took up some specialty generics and started selling them. Soon realized that even other companies had started making the same. By the time you come on the market, others have also thought in the same way and they also hit the market. And we ended up miserable. There was a huge loss which piled up because the products we were selling were not at an affordable price. We were selling sometimes even at deep discounts. Now that loss was we had borrowed from GSFC, as I told you. And GSFC even called us and fired us that you're not repaying. We will have to give a public notice to auction out your company. By that time, I was working on an injection for treating patients who have consumed or who are exposed to pesticides, pesticide poisoning. Those days, one of the techniques used by people who wanted to commit suicide was to consume pesticides. And they would die if this injection was not there. If the injection was there, they would survive. 5-10 doses were required. And it used to come from Japan. No Indian company used to make it because it was not a huge market. But for the company of our size, where our turnover was hardly, first year turnover was just 7 lakh rupees. Second year was 18 lakh rupees. So for us, it was sizable because I thought we could get at least 70-80 lakhs or a crore of business, and the margin would be good if we develop it in India. So we developed that. And then in the meantime, what to do? Generics were causing a lot of loss. This development was ongoing. It was taking time. So we switched over to another product called Barium Sulphate. It is used in X-ray. They make you drink a glass and it is radio opaque. So when the X-rays are taken, the doctor can see the intestine, the stomach, and give a diagnosis. Those days, the MRI, etc., were not there. Barium was quite a popular test for diagnosis of gastrointestinal conditions. एक साल वो बनाया, realized that it is a good product, but the volumes are not going to be there. So उसके बाद ये palm का try कर लिया. And when we made this, the injection for pesticide is called PAM, P-A-M, PAM injection, coming from Japan. And after about 2 years of work and 2 years of selling barium sulphate, 2 years of shutting down the generic department completely, the factory was working at almost 15% capacity utilization. So all these agonies were going on, but we were perseverant because we were chasing a dream of becoming successful. To what extent, I don't know. I didn't know at that time. But it was that, how can we fail? That has to be the spirit, that I need to survive, I need to succeed. And then we made this palm injection. And the Japanese were selling it at 70 rupees an ampule. Very expensive in those days. All other injections, the common ones were 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 3 rupees. This used to be at 80 rupees or 70 rupees. And 10 doses were required. So the treatment cost was very high. We had optimized the product. I told you we are good at reverse engineering. So I improved upon a US patent actually. And we got such high yields of the bulk drug that the cost went down. The injection, we launched it, marketed at 40 rupees. Exactly half the price. And suddenly all over India, the hospitals which used to treat pesticide poisoning, they started buying from us. So suddenly Troika had a presence in every hospital, important hospital of the country, where even we did not have a marketing network. In pharma business is also about setting up huge marketing networks. Now at that stage when we were hardly 18 to 20 lakh rupees, there was no scope for us to do any marketing. But we came out with a product which caused the demand. And the dealers used to come from Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, Bombay. They would personally come to pick up the goods and take them back. And after that, we reverse engineered into injections for cardiac surgery. Reasonably well, I would not call it a big success. After that, we went into anesthesia, again reasonable success, not too good. Then we innovated, we came up with Dyna-PAR-AQ. That taught us that this is the way to go. Reverse engineering was almost discontinued. Original ideas globally patented was a new mantra. Expensive, risky, but rewarding enough, and most importantly, satisfying enough. So this is an example of the kind of perseverance that is required to be there when you are very low and when you don't have support, you don't have kind of a system or a society which is going to support you because you are an entrepreneur, because you're an innovator. No, that is not the kind of support that we get here. And in terms of resilience, which again, as I said, proactivity is the only way to be resilient. If you fall down, you will get up. Many examples I have actually. I'll quickly share with you about an income tax raid. The first time Troika made good profits was somewhere around 1990. That is 6 years after we started. And we were happy because palm injection, as I said, was doing well. And we had also introduced a set of other products, anesthesia, cardiac surgery, etc. So overall, it was not bad. We were doing pretty well then. But then the income tax raided us. Now, it was a malicious raid. In those days, this used to happen a lot. So this is about 1990. The turnover had touched about 14 crores. And they came. Now, I'll talk about the value system, which is an essential trait of a good entrepreneur. We were not cheating on the taxes at all. So they didn't find anything. They turned the house upside down, the office upside down, the plant upside down. there was nothing that they could find. So obviously they were very frustrated because the whole trade was failing. Finally, when they didn't find anything, they were pressurizing us that you please declare black money income of at least 2 crores. So I have been brought up in a family which is very rich on values. I can't be dishonest. It's not that I can't be, it's my parents have taught me that it's not worthwhile. So I said that I'm not going to declare anything, because by declaring I'm admitting to something which I have not done actually, something which is repugnant to my own thought process that black money is not good for me. So 14 crores turnover, they took out a demand of 18 crores. This is the kind of absurd things that happen in India. And this is all happening over a period of 9, 10, 12 months. So you can imagine the mental agony. If you are not proactive, you would crash land, you will not be able to focus on your business, and you will just collapse. But we went on, we fought it out. We filed an appeal, and from the demand, which was 17, 18 crores, at the appeal level itself, it became 0. 14 crore to 0. And in between, they started harassing us. They said, you start paying installments. Aapka itna bada tax ka liability hai, to aap to har mahine 1 crore rupiya bharo. Ab main har mahine, if I pay 1 crore every month, I'll go bankrupt in 3 months. So I went and met the Commissioner of Income Tax, and I told him that if you make me pay this, I'm going bankrupt. You're going to kill an entrepreneur who's honest. And you know that I'm honest. It's just that your officers have cooked up a story. He said, no, I can't do anything. Now, once they have decided, I said, if you don't do anything, I'm going to do something. The day I go bankrupt, I'll destroy you all, because I know it is for me, once I'm not doing anything, I'll be able to show to the world and to the higher up authorities that I was really played dirty. So then he possibly realized about, the way I must have said it. So he came down and he said, "Aap kitna doge? Interim payment kitna karoge till the time the appeal is decided?" I said, I don't want to pay anything, but finally we settled at 5 lakhs per month. It took us about 16 months to win the appeal. Meantime, we had deposited 80 lakh rupees to the income tax. For a company which is running on its own, which has got, even otherwise, cash crunch is always there for small companies. And I was made to pay 5 lakhs to the income tax. But we won the appeal. It was relegated to 0. We got the whole refund. The government went to the tribunal, which is the next level. They lost there. And then the matter ended. So this is resilience. 2 things, as I said, positivity and perseverance and resilience. Learn to be proactive. And proactivity, now these days you just search proactivity on Google and you will know what is proactivity. And you will have to practice it. It is not something which is God-gifted to all. But if you understand the mechanics of how the proactive mind works, gradually you will be able to practice it. It is the most vital requirement for an entrepreneur, because the environment is quite unfriendly sometimes. And therefore, if you get knocked out of action because mentally you are down, then it affects your whole enterprise. And that brings us to the next very essential trait, and that is passion. They say that passion can move mountains, which means it can help you overcome huge challenges. And therefore, passion is a very essential trait of entrepreneurship, extremely essential, I would say. And because, you know what, passion is infectious. If I am passionate about something while talking with you, I'm going to infect you like a virus with that passion. If I have the right approach, the right knowledge, and the right way of presenting it with full passion, I'll infect you. In psychology, it is called, I just forgot the term. Yeah, it's called emotional contagion. So you are contagious through your emotions. Passion is all about emotions. And if you become contagious through your emotions, you're going to be really, really a great leader. Because leadership के बहुत सारे definitions है, but the most simplified definition I'll give you is that what is the leader supposed to do to make his enterprise grow? Apart from developing products, research, development, management, execution, fine. I think it's two things we need to do. We need to influence people outside the company, like the bankers, like the income tax department, like the GST department, so many. So we need to influence them so that they can see our viewpoint. And the second thing the leader has to do is to inspire the people in his company through his leadership. Both these things need passion. It is how you talk, how you argue, how you provide the logic that causes the passion to be transferred and the other person exceeds. An employee gets inspired, an outside banker who was not thinking of giving you a loan will give you a loan. I'll give you a very classic example. When we made PAM, I told you about the pesticide injection, anti-pesticide. I think around 1991, we had bid for a tender at the King Edward Memorial Hospital, Bombay, KEM, which used to buy in sizable amount, 12 lakh rupees per year. For us, it was like a big deal because the margins were also very good. So then KEM told us that nobody else is making palm in India. We have been buying from Japan. Now you are an Indian company. We would like to inspect your plant. So they came to the plant. Now, as I told you, my plant was not the most ultra-modern plant. It was a very semi-automatic plant built with the minimum capital that was available. So one of the doctors, who was himself a surgeon, I forget his name, he came to visit and we took him around the plant and I could see he was not impressed. Because palm is a life-saving injection. Japan का product ले रहे हैं और ये इंडिया वालों को मैं देखने आया हूँ तो इनका plant इतना तो कुछ है नहीं ज़्यादा. So, but he was a decent guy. So I asked him, sir, what do you think? So he said, Mr. Patel, do you think you can make palm in this facility? He was very frank. He said, don't feel offended, but I have to ask you upfront. Do you think you can make good quality palm in this facility? So I told him, and that's where the passion comes in. I told him that, sir, I agree and I know that you have apprehensions because my plant is not the most modern one. And you've been buying a Japanese product. But then we Indians are creative and we Indians can do it. You as a doctor, you are operating in operation theaters which need to be bacteria free and sterile. But you and I both know that the operation theaters which you perform surgery in are highly contaminated. But yet the success rate is high and Indian surgeons are recognized world over. Likewise, I am a good pharmacist, sir. And I can promise you that my product will be good. My plant may not be the best in the world today, but you give me an opportunity, I'll not let you down. And guess what? He awarded the tender to us. And that was the beginning of increasing profits because KEM was pan-India well-known hospital. All other hospitals, we just had to show the order of KEM, the tender, and we started getting the orders. So that is what passion can actually do. You can influence people. Even the income tax, which I told you about, the commissioner must have felt something when I said that I have not done anything wrong. Why can't you guys understand that there can be honest entrepreneurs? I am a tech entrepreneur. I have no knowledge of how to cheat. I'm not a pakka businessman who just knows how to dodge the taxes. Something must have worked. So passion is that kind of a force which causes an emotional contagion. And you have to learn to do that. If you are a very cold and docile person, top class in your field, with first class knowledge, but no passion, neither will you be able to influence the key people outside the company who matter to your company, nor will be able to inspire people within the company. And that will affect your human resource development programs. The next is hard work. Nothing much to say about hard work. I think I personally believe that if you're chasing a dream, you don't even know that you're working hard. Because for us, for example, for the first 1984 to probably 1992, every year out of the 52 Sundays, we would be working almost between 40 to 45 Sundays. Weekdays to kaam chalu hi tha, but Sundays भी चलता था. कभी रात को भी चले जाते थे plant पे. When there was electricity problems and electricity was being supplied at night, so we used to go at night and run the plant. Because those days electrical shortages were rampant. So the harder you work, the luckier you get. Luck has a role to play. I'm not denying it. But if you work hard, I believe that Lady Luck is compelled to smile on you ultimately. Somewhere down, she also realized that isko kuch de do. And I have never been personally blessed with much luck, let me tell you. Honestly, I tell you. And once some astrologer, a friend of mine had shown my horoscope to some astrologer. He said that nothing will come easy to you. But that doesn't deter us. So remember, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Without hard work, entrepreneurship has no meaning. The next trait is problem solving. Being an entrepreneur means solving a plethora of problems month after month, year after year. What do you need to solve problems? What you need is knowledge, a deep understanding. If you are a pharmacist, you have a deep knowledge of pharmaceutical sciences. But you don't have knowledge about finance. You don't have knowledge about marketing. You don't have knowledge about human resource development. So knowledge is what will enable you to solve problems. And there's a method. The method is about 2 steps, simple step. First is to diagnose what actually is the problem. Many times we see that people fail to understand the problem. So it's like I'm doing the wrong diagnosis. If someone suffering from typhoid, I am diagnosing it as flu. So I'm going to give the wrong solution, the wrong medicine. So understanding the problem correctly itself requires knowledge. If you understand it correctly, then your knowledge base is going to help you to solve it. Because what you will do, if you've understood the problem, you will find a solution, but not one. You will find at least 2 solutions, plan A, plan B, and if possible, plan C as well. Then implement plan A. Once you implement plan A, if it works, fine. If it doesn't, go back to plan B. All this happens based on your inherent knowledge. And when you work in teams, there is another factor which you need to keep in mind. All this decision making and problem solving has to be done without egos. Each one has to only contribute with the knowledge that he has in solving the problem, not with his experience and ego. You have to drop even if you're the managing director, you have to listen to a guy who brings in fresh knowledge. My knowledge may have been obsolete. I thought that this is the way to solve it. He may give me a better way to do it. So knowledge is of prime importance, and that will bring me to that you will ask the question where to get it from. Well, in my days there was no internet, but today internet is a whole bank of knowledge. Any problem you have, just go on the net and put a search term. You don't get the answer, change the search term. You don't get the answer, change the search term till you get the answers. But the answers are all there. The second is books. When you want some comprehensive reading on a subject, like for me, there were categories of books which I read because as a pharmacist those days, there were no interdisciplinary courses. All I knew and understood was only pharmacy. No idea of finances, no idea of marketing, no idea of HR, no idea of management. So when we started the company, as we kept on building the company, we realized that ye nahi aayega to it's going to be like saturation. So marketing, for example, I found an author called, the first book I read was about character building and leadership. That is a wonderful bestseller since last 40 years. When I read it also, it was a bestseller. Recently I saw it, it still is a bestseller. And that's called 7 Habits of Effective People. It's written by Stephen Covey. It's a wonderful book. If you read and assimilate it, I tell you, your character will be strengthened. You will understand all this proactivity and what are the mind games, etc. And it will help you a lot. It will help you in the long run. I read it in around 1986, so that was the right time for me. And that is how I could be resilient and proactive, etc. Then for marketing, I forget the names of the authors, but there were 2 or 3 very good books which gave me, see, the books also give you hope and confidence because you feel inadequate. Today, all of you who are listening to this, I'm sure there is a lot of inadequacy feeling that mujhe ye nahi aata hai, wo nahi aata hai. I also had the same thing. And then whom do you ask? You don't get gurus easily कि चलो रोज इनको पूछ लेंगे क्या करना है. And then how do you know that the guru himself is very well educated or knowledgeable on the subject? Why not rely on your own thing? Build your own repertoire of knowledge. So for marketing, for example, the first book I read was Al Ries and Jack Trout. They were world famous. Even today, their books are very, very successful. There are 2 authors. Al Ries is one and Jack Trout is another. The 2 have now separated, but those days they used to write as a pair. So Marketing Warfare was the first book I picked up. And you know what it taught me? Because all the time I used to wonder, okay, India being such a large country, how am I going to market my products all across the country? I don't have that kind of money to set up a distribution network. So but that book taught me how to do it. If you're small, how to do it. How do you start a small company and then take it big, make it big? His next book was called Positioning. It was about how to brand your products. There was a book called 7 Immutable Laws of Marketing. So I read the whole series on marketing. I read the 7 Habits for Character Building. And then as the company grew, I knew that there were issues like how to select people, how to get things done, what is called execution, which is also a very important domain. You must read about execution because an idea is not in the reality. Idea gets real only if it's executed well. Otherwise, it fails. So I read a book called From Good to Great. If you want to make a company, you want to be able to take a good company to becoming great, then there's a book called From Good to Great by Jim Collins. All these books, they build your confidence and they also kind of validate the decisions you've taken because they tell you this is the way to go. If you have done it, you feel good that, okay, I've taken the right steps. And if you are going wrong, I need a course correction. And these are world-class authors, absolutely reliable gurus. They are remote gurus. We may not see them, but their entire wisdom is there in the book. So find out which domain of knowledge, find out a good author. Some of the names I have given here, you could note them down. Those books are going to be all-time hits because they pack so much power into those 200-300 pages. And Stephen Covey books are not very thick. They're not like treatise. They're usually 150-200 pages and packed with examples so that the concept sinks in your mind, not with theory. All these books I'm talking about are with examples. So they're practical books. That brings me to values. After that, only one thing is vision. There are many traits, but I think then I'll rather take questions. So the values, some of the values which need to be very much cherished by us as Indians. The first one I'll speak about is honesty. This cutting out on taxes and cheating on small things and all. I personally don't. I could have gone a longer way. I know that. I could have been possibly 2,000 crores today. But I think we are better off if we do everything honestly. And it's not that if you do things honestly, you're not harassed. The government will still harass you. But then you have your night's sleep and you have the audacity to challenge them. Like I challenge them in the income tax कि आपने 14 करोड़ निकाला है या आप लोग को हम खत्म कर देंगे कंप्लेंट डाल के या आपको ये जीरो करना पड़ेगा. उन्होंने जीरो कर दिया. 14 crore to zero in a government department is a monumental decision taken by them because there could be allegations of corruption actually. But they did it because we were able to prove that we are honest people. Even returning the money back from wherever you borrowed is absolutely necessary. It's a word of honor. It's your honesty. We had borrowed from a cooperative bank at one point of time. And as luck would have it, we had some 30, 40 lakh rupees from them, and the bank went bankrupt. In between, there was a whole series of bankruptcies in cooperative banks, right? So my chartered accountant, he advised me, Ketan, you don't need to worry. You don't need to give this money out. That bank is already crashed. Who's going to come for recovery? So I said, no, that is not the right thing for us. The bank may have crashed, but I have borrowed from them and I have signed that I'm going to return. So we kept on sending the installments back. And when it was almost over, the whole board of directors of the bank came to meet us. They said, we have never had a borrower like you who has constantly repaid the loan without a single reminder. And as a gesture, the board wrote a letter to my existing bankers, Bank of Baroda, about how we have honored the commitment. So that strengthened my bonds with Bank of Baroda. So honesty does pay. It's not that it doesn't pay. We had borrowed from GSFC, I told you. When we made PAN, I prepaid the whole amount. Whatever we had borrowed, we had 3-4 years to go. Instead of that, we paid the whole amount. So when we wanted to borrow again from GSFC, I got a call from the chairman's office that he wants to meet you. So I was wondering what would be there must be something to do with sanction of my new loan. So when we went, he said that, Mr. Patel, did you borrow from us about 3 years ago, 1985? I said, yes, we did. And he said, did you prepay the loan? You paid the loan before time. I said, yeah, we made money, so we paid back. So he said, we don't get these kind of customers, and that is why I've called you to thank you. And I'm giving you a 3% rebate on this loan. So remember, honesty pays. It may not be, sometimes you feel that cutting corners se thoda fast ja sakte hai, but I don't advise any entrepreneur to do that. Do your business with dignity and confidence and in a manner such that you can face up any litigation against you. The second value is humility. Today you may be small and you may be humble, but as you grow, never become arrogant, because that is also a state of mind which will block you from the good things and the good inputs coming from good people, because you become arrogant. And even your corporation, your company must reflect that. I'll give you a simple example. Today in Troika, there is a strict instruction to the entire staff, all the vice presidents, that if you call anybody, then honor the time. If he has been called at 4, he has to be in your chamber by within 5 minutes of 4. Latest by 4:05. And this is watched by the HR department because there's a camera in the waiting area. If there is a crowding in the waiting area, it is a proof that my company staff, someone is becoming arrogant. So we must remain humble all the time. Humility is a great virtue, I would say. And third is, of course, quality. Your quality should be unshakable, top class. In pharma, since the products get injected into the body, there's a lot of doubts cast on the quality of a company when it's new and upcoming, like Troika is. Abhi to nahi hota hai, but what time? I'm telling you of an incident in 1990, in 2005, 2002 or 3. We make an injection for anesthetizing a patient for open heart surgery. We've been making it since then. But that time it was new and we had introduced, and our competitor was a multinational. So obviously, again, the same thing, multinational Indian company. So Apollo Chennai, they had purchased from us the first order they gave, and within 10 days, they told our local sales rep, this product is not giving the desired results. Now, typically, what do you do? Most companies in India, what they do is they'll say, okay, sir, this batch may have a problem, I'm withdrawing it. I'll replace it with another batch. And that is what the pharmacist also advised. That आप ये वापस ले लो, दूसरा बैच दे दो, हमको ये satisfactory नहीं लग रहा है. Now, if I have made the product, my product has been tested on sophisticated instrumentation, and it is complying with all the standards. If I replace the batch, silently I am acknowledging that my quality, there was some problem. So we had so much confidence that we sent a senior manager from Ahmedabad to Apollo. And we said that unless you prove this is not working, we are not withdrawing. You can call in the regulatory authority. And he said, first of all, I want to see the case record forms where it is reported that this drug is not working. Because the doctor is supposed to mention it, that anesthesia not achieved, so extra dose had to be given, etc. Then the cat was out of the bag. They said, no, there's some confusion, aisa nahi hai, we will use this batch now. So if you're confident about quality, only then you can do this. If you're not, then you will be a little bit shaky. So what you will say is, nahi sahab, hum wapas le lete hai, dusra replace kar dete. That is admitting failure. And vision, the last thing. Now, vision is a word which is confounding because what is the size of the vision you should have? So in real terms, unless you have inherited great wealth and you are starting on a big leap with say 60 crores or 100 crores of capital, you can afford to have a huge vision. But if you're starting as tech entrepreneurs who's good, for whom every rupee matters, start with a realistic vision. Because what you set as a vision in the beginning is not the end, it is the beginning. When we started Troika, our vision was that if we do say around 1 crore of rupees per year, we are a great company. Hum bahut khush ho jayenge. But then what happens is that as you keep building your company, you keep gaining experiences. Each experience is lodged in your mind, metaphorically like a dot. So hundreds of dots of experience are there in your mind. And somewhere down you will see they start connecting. When they connect, they show you a new way ahead. So at that point of time, you shift your goalpost and expand your vision. When you cross that goalpost, expand it further. Your knowledge is going to keep telling you how much you need to expand and where you can set up your next peg at. So don't worry about having a huge vision in the beginning. Just have a modest vision, achieve that milestone. Your learning experiences say next humko itna karna hai. And that is how my company has been built up that way. I told you we started with hardly 5 lakh rupees and 5 or 10 employees, 5 part-time, 5 full-time. And every time we achieved something, gradually the mind was telling us कि इसके बाद ये तो हम आराम से कर सकते हैं. Because experience is something which gives you tremendous confidence to take the next leap. So keep taking leaps and keep shifting your goalposts. And I think you will really be able to build your company to a satisfaction. The concluding message is very important. The question, why are you into entrepreneurship? There are two things. Either you are in it to get satisfaction of being an entrepreneur and building a company, कि भाई हमारा company बन गया. Whatever with the turnover, 1 crore, 6 crore, 12 crore, 18 crore, 24 crore. And whatever money we make is okay. I'm making the money along with my main dream of building an organization, employing people, giving back to the society, giving top quality products. Those give you more satisfaction than money itself. And the second category of entrepreneurs are those who want to make money quick, fast, big. So please be clear about the outcomes. The first one is about overall holistic satisfaction, including money. And let me tell you, once you start earning beyond 1 crore rupees or 2 crore per year, there's not much of a difference, unless you just want to waste money on expensive jewelry and watches and cars. Otherwise, India में क्या खर्चा करोगे? कितना करोगे? कितने फॉरेन वेकेशन ले लोगे? 2 crore में सब हो जाता है. So people who understand this, they feel tremendous satisfaction about building something valuable to the society, which I think was mentioned in the introduction by Mr. Nagarajan, that we need to build something where we can feel that I have contributed to the society. Because ultimately, your enterprise is surviving because there is a society. If there was no society, there was no survival. And the second category of people who want to make it fast, big, great, they are a bit over-ambitious. And they are intelligent. I'm not saying they're not. But you know, when you're over-ambitious and when you're just chasing money, you overlook certain steps. So what happens is that you take a big plunge. My vision is not from here to 6 kilometers. My vision is here to 6,000 kilometers. So मैंने सब कर दिया. उसके बाद क्या हुआ? पैसा कम पड़ गया. Okay, give 20% to private equity. Bring the private equity. Now you are already in a spiral, a downward spiral. So every year or every 2 years, the private equity keeps adding 20%, then 40%, then 50%, then 60%. And then they will tell you, we are buying you out, please go. Or they'll keep you as a ceremonial chairman. So it's a double whammy. And also, if you don't do this, if no private equity comes to you, you go bankrupt because you took a too large a dream. So the two outcomes are either bankruptcy or sell out of your own baby, which you created with so much pain. You know, the kind of energy that goes into putting up a company is, in an analogy, I'll tell you, when an aircraft takes off, it consumes the maximum energy. Then when it is cruising, it is fine. Energy levels are less. All these companies, when the private equities come, they want to come when you are just about to cruise. So your entire energy by which you built up an organization, someone is getting ready-made. That is why they are willing to pay you through the nose. And you will make 200 crore, 300 crore, 600 crore. This is the time to decide whether you want to do that or you want to constantly build your own company. It is like it is your baby and derive satisfaction from, first of all, minimize the chances of your going bankrupt or you're being in dire straits. Uska to chance nahi lagega usme, because you are measured and calculated. And somewhere down you realize you created much bigger value. 2 years ago, we were being pestered by private equity. So we met every single private equity, possibly the big ones in the country. And then we realized कि इन लोग को क्या चाहिए? इन लोग को यही चाहिए कि भाई कंपनी में हमारा आए अगर हमारा शेयर जो हमने लिया 10%, हम बोल रहे हैं 10% देने वाले, उसका अगर वैल्यू वो टाइम पे कुछ 800 करोड़ हो रहा था, तो उनको ये चाहिए कि ये 10% का वैल्यू 3 साल में 2400 करोड़ हो जाना चाहिए. अब उसके लिए जो भी सेक्रीफाइस करना पड़ेगा, हमारा प्रिंसिपल्स, मे बी देर से कभी इनोवेशन बंद करो, ये रिवर्स इंजीनियर जेनरिक में बहुत पैसा मिल सकता है, तो करो, आपका डीएनए म्यूटेट कर दो. हमको तो 3 साल में 2400 करोड़ चाहिए, फिर आप जानो और आपकी कंपनी जाने, आपको पब्लिक जाना पड़ेगा, और उसके बाद you are then at the mercy of your shareholders, or they will buy you out. So many companies have been lost. You know, what I feel very strongly about it is Indian entrepreneurship is being bought out. You talk of Flipkart, you talk what happened to that coffee fellow, he committed suicide. That is all because of over ambition, over borrowing, and liquidating and diluting your shares ad nauseam. So that is my concluding message. I can take a few questions if you want.
Wonderful, sir. It was really, really great to have you and listen to the secret sauce of how you really made big.
Yeah.
Coming from grassroots and really making a global technology company. And as you rightly mentioned, there might be many entrepreneurs who have made big, but maintaining ethical integrity and making big is something which makes you stand apart. And that's quite important, because many often when our young startups in iHub and other works, we see that they start cutting corners. And there we advise them that if you really want to leave a footprint, if you really want to make some money, maybe cutting corners can help. But if you really want to leave a footprint, you need to maintain the highest standards of ethical. I think that was a very interesting point आपने बताया, और इसीलिए आप आज ए बोर्ड मेंबर iHub को जो गाइड कर रहे हैं, हम लोग आपका वैल्यू को इंस्टिल करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. Absolutely. This is one of the reasons, sir, because when a young pharmacy student comes after MPharm PhD with a proposal to design a project under student startup and innovation policy to give a